Welcome to Mondays with Melissa. So today we are answering question number 3 of the top 5 questions people ask about Medicaid, elder law, and estate planning. Question number 3 has to do with Medicaid, and the question is, what are the resource and income eligibility limits for somebody who wants to apply for Medicaid? So of course in New York we have our rules, and in New York, in order to qualify for Medicaid, whether it's at home or in a nursing home, an individual cannot have more than $32,396 in assets, in resources. So that's going to be a checking, savings, money market, CD, any account that is a non-retirement account. So even a brokerage account would be included in that. Medicaid does not count IRAs, 401ks, 403bs as assets or resources for Medicaid eligibility purposes as long as you're taking your required minimum distribution. So when we're talking about your resource limit, that $32,396 is only going to be certain accounts that count towards that. So that's going to be the same for any individual who's applying for home care or nursing home care. If a married couple is applying, that number goes up and it's a total between the two, and that's $43,781 in assets. Income is treated differently. So we have our assets over here on one side, and on the other side, we look at the applicant's income. So if you're at home and you need Medicaid, someone to come in and care for you in the home, Medicaid says you're allowed to make $1,800 a month in income. Income is going to be your Social Security, pension, IRA distribution for the year divided by 12, so that becomes a monthly income, and any other source of income you might have. It could be interest from a trust, interest in dividends. You know, every person is different, but for the most part, we're looking at Social Security, pension, IRA distribution. That cannot total more than $1,800. If it does, which it usually does, we have to explain to our clients that they have to spend down that excess income. Whatever's over the $1,800 has to be spent down so that they can qualify for Medicaid. There are 2 ways to spend down that excess income. The first is to spend the money on care. So you use whatever income is over the $1,800 to pay for your care, and then Medicaid will pick up the rest. You get to keep the $1,800. But now you're living on $1,800 a month when maybe you had a Social Security, pension, IRA distribution of $4,500 or $5,000 a month. The other way to spend down is by setting up something called a pooled income trust. And that is a special type of trust where instead of spending down that excess income, you transfer it into the pooled income trust each month, and it can be used from there to pay for regular monthly expenses of the Medicaid applicant. So that's a much better use of the excess income because now you're not losing access to it. You're still able to use it to pay for expenses. So when it comes to home care and somebody who has an income that exceeds the $1,800 by a decent amount, if it's $100 or $200, it may not make sense to do the pooled income trust. But for the most part, the pooled income trust is the way to go to protect that excess income. Now, again, if you have a married couple who are both applying for home care, their total income is $2,433. That's the income limit for a married couple. Now, nursing home is treated very differently. If you are a single person in a nursing home, you get to keep $50 a month of your income and the rest goes to the nursing home. Medicaid picks up the difference. So that's pretty straightforward. If you're a married person and you're in a nursing home, now we have to look at the spouse's income. That's going to be the important calculation. How much income does the spouse in the community get? If it's more than $3,948, then they can keep it, but they have to sign something called Spousal Refusal, which means the county can come to them for contribution towards the cost of care. If they don't make that $3,948 a month on their own, then they can actually take income from the spouse in the nursing home before the spouse in the nursing home has to turn anything over to the nursing home. So it's all going to be about very specific calculations of income, what's included in income, what's allowed to be deducted from income, and then what the actual income is that Medicaid is going to count and what that looks like. and then we can make a determination on what the spouse in the community is entitled to and what the spouse in the nursing home has to turn over. So these numbers are very cut and dry as far as they are what they are. We get them every year. They go up a little bit, but they are complicated in that there are calculations behind it, there are regulations behind it, there are rules behind it, what's accepted and what's not accepted. And it's really important to sit down and speak with us about what the income looks like, because sometimes people don't even qualify because their income is so high that they never actually engage Medicaid, or sometimes the income is low enough that they don't even need a pooled income trust. So it's really very important to sit down with us and go over the specifics and see how this all relates to you, your loved one, and what Medicaid is going to look like. But as for the most common question of what are the eligibility, resource, and income limits, those are your answers. That is again going to go up at the beginning of 2026, which of course we'll make sure we get that information to you. So that is our question number 3 in the top 5 questions about elder law, estate planning, and Medicaid. We'll be back next week with the answer to question number 4. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.